Hi everyone, and welcome back to the May Garden Tour. So things have been going really well with myself and baby and also the garden. Most everything is planted right now and things are doing great. We've had some really hot weather, which has been a little difficult because I still had plants in their seedling pots and it was getting hard to keep them watered, and they really wanted to get out into the garden. So I've been pushing through that the past couple of days in any moment that he'll let me to get out to the garden and get those things in the ground. So yeah, most everything's planted now, and we just got a little bit of rain, so I think everything will be happy with that. So let's take a look around. So this first area here in the backyard is a new area that I dug out and put a trellis up here along the fence, and I've planted the clematis I potted from bare root that I got from Costco. It's doing okay. I think it did want to get into the ground sooner, but I didn't have the trellis and I didn't have this dug out, so it did have to wait. And I think I snapped part of the stem, so that's not doing well, but I think it'll be okay. And if I don't get any blooms this year, that's okay. I think it'll come back strong next year. Threw in a few extra sweet peas there just to see what they would do. And then this is one of my lavender and gomphrena plants that were started from seed. Next we have the spring bulb bed, and most of the spring bulbs are done, but you can see we do have some little iris things coming up here, so those should be nice. And what I've done in this bed is I've just popped in extra seedlings that I had. So there's a bachelor button back there, a feverfew, a sweet William, breadseed poppy, that's a Thumbelina zinnia. I have an Icelandic poppy, a Cosmo, another sweet William, a stock, and another poppy here. Oh, and that's a Japanese anemone I got bare root. Doesn't seem to be doing much, so I'm not sure what's going on with that, but hopefully it starts taking off soon. So yeah, this is just gonna be a little bit like a cottage garden feel with kind of one of everything. Oh, and a Chinese forget-me-not in there as well. A little one of everything that I kind of started this year, and we'll just see how that looks together. Hopefully it'll cover some of the dying foliage and be a nice little whimsical feel here. Some more irises coming up here. So in the backyard garden space, I have a lot of beds, so let's start over here. Here in these pots is a Russian sage and a wild geranium that are going to go out in the driveway garden. I'm creating what I'm going to call a deer buffet out there to see what the deer in this area will leave alone, and I'm hoping these two plants are things that they will leave alone. The creeping phlox was really beautiful this spring. It is on its way out, but that's all right because other things are coming into bloom, like this salvia, perennial salvia that I put in last year, and I actually got that very cheap from our local Aldi store. I also have the mint potted up in a new pot, and it's responding very well to having a little more room to grow. In the back here are sweet peas. So when I started my sweet peas indoors, I accidentally soaked too many seeds. So I actually came out that at the same time where I started them indoors and just popped them into the ground here. I didn't know if it was gonna work, and it did. They pretty much all came up and are doing great. So I've put this trellis here for them to climb up. Those two there are some of the ones that I had started indoors, just kind of comparing how they do in the same spot there. But yeah, really happy to see that these are doing well and looking really healthy, because the seedlings I started indoors and transplanted out, I'll show you later, aren't looking too hot. So at least I have these nice, healthy sweet peas in this area. Also, here's a beautiful little iris bloom. That's just gorgeous, love it. Hoping to get some more of those. What else was put in here are zinnias. So I grew a lot of zinnias indoors this year, and I have planted them out, and they are going to be beautiful here. Also, I have some daisies and black-eyed Susans here, as well as a couple iris. And this was the mystery plant that was coming up, and I had no idea what it was. Still don't know what it is. I just decided to leave it alone, and it's really filling out. So it'll be interesting to see what that is as it comes into bloom. And a spare Chinese forget-me-not over there as well. One other very exciting addition to this bed here. This is a cup and saucer vine. I got this at our local public market. They have a plant flower day. So I'm hoping to train it to go up this trellis. And I just put this little trellis here a couple days ago, and it's already attached to the trellis. So I'm hoping to help guide it. Oh look, there's a little bee. How cute, little bee. Anyways, hoping to help guide it up this little trellis, kind of like a bridge, and then add a wider trellis here for it to grow up the fence. So that'll be an experiment to see if this does well in this area and if I can kind of train it to do what I want. I definitely want to make sure it doesn't take over the sweet pea trellis. I kind of wanted it to go above and to maybe a little bit over into my little seating area where I have my umbrella, which is broken. Need to get a better one. But I have my chairs with my pansies here, and me and baby just love to come out here in the mornings and have our coffee. He likes to breastfeed, and it's really nice because this umbrella provides shade, and we just sit here and watch the garden grow. Yep, this is where we sit and watch the garden grow, baby. Can you smile? Can you smile? Can you smile, baby? Okay, how exciting is this? First bloom. Okay, so I've got baby in his carrier because he's a little fussy, so we'll see if this helps. He likes his carrier, so maybe he'll settle down a little bit. But right behind me is this new addition to the garden that I'm very excited about. This is the new trellis that's sort of like an entrance to the garden. So it goes from one bed to the other, and it is just attached with T-posts. I'll flip the camera around and show you that. Right, so it's a cattle panel that we picked up at the local Tractor Supply. We had to borrow a truck from someone so that we could get it into the truck and get it home. But then we just put these T-posts here on both ends and pounded them into the ground, and just used some heavy-duty zip ties to attach the panel to the T-posts. And there she is. I'm really excited about this. I've wanted one of these for a while, and I think altogether it costs like only $30, so it's a really cost-effective way to get a trellis in your garden. So like I mentioned before, the sweet peas that I started inside, they did actually do really well, but then I just left them in their containers because I was waiting for this trellis to be installed, and they got a little unhappy, and then it got super hot here, like up in the 80s, and generally they just were not happy. So anyways, I did get them out of their containers and planted here. Lots of nice compost, some fertilizer, so hopefully as the temperatures cool down in the next couple of days, they perk up and start thinking about growing up this trellis. I do think they probably will rebound and do okay, because I would just love this trellis full of sweet pea blooms of all different kinds here, and I'm really excited to see if this will work. It's pretty windy today, so they're getting blown all over. Yeah. On this side of the trellis, I have a couple sweet peas in the front because I just thought that would be a nice cohesive look to have sweet peas in the front on both. Oh look, this guy did find the trellis, so that's good news there. And then I planted pole beans the rest of the way down. None of them are up yet, so I'm not sure if my seed was old or if they're just taking a while to germinate. We'll have to see. But then I also got a Black Eyed Susan vine at the farmer's market to have kind of cover the end of this trellis. If the pole beans don't come up, I will let this black-eyed Susan vine maybe take over more of the trellis. And if they do come up, I'll have to kind of train it to stay out of their way. Anyways, in the rest of this bed, these are the stock that were started from seed, and they are finally putting on some growth and looking quite healthy. The Chinese forget-me-not that were started from seed, looking good. The Sweet William is also putting on lots of growth and looking healthy. Over on the other side here, you can see my tiny baby little Lisianthus. They have grown a little bit in size, I would say, but still not sure what they'll do this year, but just watching, and it's fun to see how that will go. Down in this corner, I popped they were tiny when I popped them in here, the little larkspur seedlings. I only got these 4 from my winter sown jug, but I'm happy with that. These 2 were super tiny, and they are growing, and these 2 are looking good as well. Here's my purple nasturtium in both corners that will spill over the side of the bed. We have herbs, oregano, sage, thyme, parsley, summer savory, and rosemary, along with chives and green onions. I'm gonna rip out those green onions and put new ones in, but this herb section of the bed is looking good. I'm constantly kind of cutting back the sage and oregano to allow room for these flowers to grow, because I honestly don't use that much of these herbs anyway. So you can see, like, I put a little separator in here to keep the oregano from covering up the Lisianthus. Over here, the peas are looking great. The dwarf peas are climbing up their trellis, and the full-size peas are also climbing up their trellis. Just the other day, I was out here and noticed we have some blossoms. So in here, I have a row of spinach that's doing pretty well. This is my second succession of spinach. And behind these peas, I have a row of arugula, and a marigold popped in there as well. Okay, in this bed, I have some beautiful head lettuce. All of these lettuces I had just plucked out of various areas around the different beds. They were volunteers, so I just transplanted them here, and they are doing great. I mean, they just look beautiful. And this Freckles lettuce was also a volunteer bunch of little lettuces, so letting that grow. The red lettuce volunteered as well. So then we move over to a row of the winter sown poppies that are doing well. As a comparison, here's the winter sown poppies, and those were poppies I sowed indoors. So they're, I would say, if anything, the winter sown have probably sprung up in their performance, but there's really not much of a difference. So I'll probably stick with winter sowing next year. They did look a little sad when I got them out of their jug and transplanted them, and it has taken them a while to kind of rebound, but they're doing great now, and I'm sure I'm gonna get some great blooms off of these. Then I just have a little row of radishes, actually between here too. These are the bachelor buttons that were winter sown, and again, took them a little while to rebound, but now they are fully rebounded and putting on tons of growth and looking really good. That may be a bud there, so that's exciting. Next, we move over into another little poppy area. So these are the Icelandic poppies that I sowed from seed way long ago myself. That is a random poppy, or it could be a weed, I'm not sure. That was in one of the winter sown jugs. This is the breadseed poppy that was started indoors, and these are the California poppies that are really hurting a lot. They're not looking good. They were really small. They didn't put on much growth indoors, and they're still really small. I think something's been nibbling them, which doesn't help at all. But we'll see. If I even get one just to see what it looks like, I'll be happy. And then someone from Facebook sent me a whole bunch of, she called them peony type poppy seeds, and I did winter sow them, and I only got one to germinate, and this is that one. So I'm happy about that and watching this one progress. Okay, so we have a bloom. So I was at Walmart, and it looks like whoever was in charge of taking care of the plants at Walmart did not do a good job, because all their plants looked horrible and like they were about to die, so they had to discount them all. So I got this poppy from Walmart for like $1, and I just chopped off all of the old nasty blooms that were on it when I got it, and it took a little while, but it sent up a ton more bloom stalks, and the first bloom is right here. I mean, how beautiful is that? So pretty, so cute, so cute. I love that flower. Okay, so moving down the bed, these are all the volunteer calendula that had come up in an area where I had one calendula plant last year, and it self-seeded and gave all these volunteers, so I just put them in a row here. These are mustards. I'm going to pull them out today and eat them, rinse them up and eat them. I have another nasturtium here in the corner, and then some kale and mustard in between. I will pull out the mustard today to give the kale more room to grow, but this kale is looking beautiful. All right, next bed over is the tomato bed. So I mixed in some other things this year. Last year this bed was full of tomatoes, but it was a little overkill, too many tomatoes, so I scaled back on the number of tomatoes this year, and that freed up some room for some other things. So I have my beets planted here, and they have come up. I've thinned them out. I think I need to thin them out again, but they're doing well. I have some kale here. These were a combination of winter and indoor sown kales. This was the winter sown one. You can see it's just a little bit ahead of the others and looking really healthy. And then some lettuces that were sown indoors. They really have not liked the super hot kind of spell we had, but I think they're gonna be okay. They've been looking pretty sad, but with today's cooler weather and the rain we've gotten, I think they're gonna do just fine. I put some bean seeds in here, but nothing's up yet. And then the tomatoes. So this is a Sunrise Bumblebee tomato. This is a Tommy Toe cherry tomato. This is an Amana tomato. It is a large orange yellow tomato. Some of the marigolds I started from seed here. I've got a row of lettuce seeds down there, just starting to come up. Over on this side, my favorite tomato I grew last year was called a honey drop tomato from Fruition Seeds. It's a local seed company. They're really great. But anyways, so I have two of the honey drop since that was my favorite, and then I also have two of the gold nugget tomatoes since I do like those orange cherry tomatoes the most. Also some marigolds started from seed, a different kind. And then on the end of the bed, I have a second succession of peas that are coming up and will climb up this trellis. And I had sort of written off growing melons because they take up so much space, and it didn't really go well for me last year because I wasn't set up for it. But I decided, what the heck, I will try again. So I put in I think this is a sugar baby watermelon and some sort of midget cantaloupe over there. And I'm gonna see if I can train them to grow up this trellis so they're just growing vertically. And we'll just see how that does this year. So hopefully growing melons vertically works out for me, so I can do some more of that in the future. Letting them grow on the ground last year, they just took up way too much room and didn't really produce much. So I'm not gonna be doing that. So we'll give this a go. Okay, so here we are at the next bed. This is my favorite bed. This is a cut flower bed this year. It has also been the most problematic bed this year. You can see I've got all these chicken wire cages on everything because something has been eating my cut flowers. I'll show you the damage it's done up close, but I don't know what it is. Something's been getting in here and nibbling them down, which is so sad because you spend all this time growing these little seeds indoors and loving them and caring them, and then something just comes and eats them like it's nothing. But hopefully the system I have here is protecting them. So anyways, I'll show you what's in this bed. So along the back is a row of sunflowers, different kinds. I have some branching down there and then some goldy double sunflowers and then a mix, so I'm going to be surprised at some of the other ones. But my plan to protect the sunflowers this year, because something ate all of my sunflowers last year. I didn't even get one sunflower last year, so over the winter I came up with a plan that I was going to protect them. And my plan was to build these. This is a tomato cage covered in chicken wire, and it's beautiful and working really well. And I was gonna make a bunch of them, but turns out it was actually really time consuming to make, and it hurt my fingers as I was working with the chicken wire. It was like ripping up my fingers, so I just stopped after making one and switched to just kind of creating little circles with the chicken wire and just attaching them together to create a loop. Not as beautiful as this, but hey, it gets the job done and it was way faster, so that's what I did. Anyways, so yeah, that's all sunflowers that are protected. In this section up here, this is Gomphrena that was started from seed. Nothing has been eating the Gomphrena, thankfully, and this is all doing great. There's a volunteer calendula. This is where the calendula volunteered, so I'm just letting that kind of live there, and a marigold as well. The next area is the, I think it's called Cresspedia, Crespirilla, I don't know, sunballs. They're those little yellow ball flowers, and something is eating them, but I ran out of chicken wire, so I can't make any more protection things, and I really hope it pulls through because I really was looking forward to this year. Hopefully they rebound. Anyways, there's a spare Chinese forget-me-not, and the next area is the cosmos. So this is an area that got hit pretty hard by whatever has been in here. They all looked really great, nice and big like that, but then something came along and has taken them down to that. I think they will rebound. I mean, essentially it's just like something came and gave them a really drastic, really hard pinch. I was gonna pinch them anyway, and it's actually pretty hard for me to pinch. It just makes me sad and it's difficult for me. So maybe this thing did me a favor and I'm gonna have amazing cosmos once they bounce back and are super branchy and bushy. But I did put in all the extras I had, just in case some of these don't come back as strong. So we'll see. Anyways, got a ton of cosmos in here, some of them bigger than others, and we'll see what happens. I might have to pull some out if they all come back because they're pretty close together now. Next are the dahlias that were started from seed. It looks like that guy has been munching some of the bottom leaves on this one and popped the top off that one, but I was gonna pinch the dahlias too, so yeah, I'm just gonna leave them and see what happens. Hopefully they're okay. Next is another one that was hit pretty hard, is the feverfew. So they all looked like that, maybe even bigger than that, and something has been chewing them down and eating them to that. So I put the protectors on here and I think that they'll come back. More volunteer calendula over here. And then in this row, I have some of my gladiolas coming up. So I just planted one row of gladiolas already, and then that's a marker for where I will put in my second succession of gladiolas pretty soon, probably next week. All right, here's the asparagus bed. It's looking good. You can see I have a kind of cage around it because my parents have a Yorkshire Terrier, Tika. She's a very sweet dog, but she was getting into the asparagus bed and eating all the little asparagus. She's really an interesting dog. Her favorite treat is sugar snap peas. When my snap peas are in bloom, she will like get up there and rip them off the plants. She just goes crazy for sugar snap peas, but she likes all vegetables, including asparagus. So that I think is going to set these plants back, unfortunately, because she was actually eating a lot of them. So some of them only have like 1 or 2 stalks left now that she didn't eat, that are left to branch out for the summer. But that's okay. I'm, you know, really patient with these asparagus anyway, because I'm planted them not expecting a immediate harvest. So anyways, we got the net up to protect these, and she hasn't been able to get in there since. So just a couple volunteer lettuce that I popped in there that are doing well. And that's some more volunteer calendula. And actually my best looking California poppy, I just popped in here too, and it's doing well in this spot. So yeah. And next is something I just installed last night, which is the cucumber trellis. So baby was feeling relaxed. It was windy out. He was looking up at the trees moving around. So that gave me some time to put this in. So this is a 2 pieces of wood that are, you know, you can move them back and forth, that I made last year. And then I just got new deer fencing and zip tied it to it this year to give the cucumbers something to climb up. So on this side, I have my favorite from last year called Muncher cucumbers. They're little ones. They had the best flavor and were super fun for snacking. So I planted 3 of those on that side, and then I have a green finger and a Market More cucumber to grow up this side. I did rip out some of the strawberries because they were just trying to encroach on this. This whole section of strawberries started with 1 plant, but it is the wild type of strawberries, which is sometimes used as a ground cover because obviously it's very aggressive in spreading. I was planning on ripping them out because I wanted to put my dahlias in this space, but you know, they put on so many flowers and they're forming little strawberries already, so I just couldn't rip them out and left them. I might rip them out after I harvest these little tiny strawberries that they'll give me, to make more room for the zucchini and summer squash that I planted here. Last year I way overplanted this area, and nothing really did that well because it just didn't have enough space. So I'm hoping this year, because I'm only planting way less and gonna make more room by getting rid of some of these, that it will do better. Next bed are the peppers that I've planted. I have a jalapeno pepper, a King of the North red pepper, another King of the North red pepper, and a yellow pepper that are all doing well. Then I have 3 eggplants, and in this section here I have some Napa cabbage that's doing really well, and then 3 basil plants, because I will rip out the Napa cabbage before it gets too big to use it, as well as these little lettuces that were put there, so the basil will have more room to grow. Yeah, and then this is stuff that was started in the hoop. I harvested already the arugula and spinach, and there was something else and radishes were all over there, grown in the hoop, and I harvested them. They were super delicious. I'm still eating them now. Every day for lunch I have like a salad with the arugula and the spinach and the mustard greens from the beds, and it's just great. Anyways, the rest of this is probably going to be harvested today. This is the other type of spinach that was grown in the hoop, and then this was a kale mix that was grown in the hoop. I love to put this in smoothies. I had one just before coming out here with some frozen fruit and some orange juice and coconut milk and a whole bunch of kale and actually some carrots put in there. It was delicious. And then this is cilantro. I'll probably leave this because it's got some more growing to do here. But yeah, on the other side is some lettuce. I'm going to be harvesting this because I have some meals planned for the weekend. I'll be spending the weekend with family, and we'll be eating all of my fresh homegrown garden greens. And then this is the area where, this was a volunteer nasturtium that did really well, so I just left it. But this is the area where I planted my dahlias Yes, I know they're probably too close together, but oh well, I don't really care. I'm just gonna see what happens. Yeah, I didn't label any of my dahlias, so I don't know what any of these are. I don't even remember what kind of dahlias I had last year. I'm not crazy about dahlias, so I'm definitely not going to baby these. I'm going to put them through their paces this year and see how they do. I potted them up indoors and they put on about this much growth, and I just got them into the ground 2 days ago and they look pretty happy for that. But yeah, we're just going to see how they do and if they deserve the space in my garden. Okay, so here is the raspberry patch, which has been completely taken over by the mustard greens because my homemade compost that I put in this bed had a whole bunch of mustard seeds, and they all grew. So I kind of let them go because I was enjoying eating them, but I just got to get rid of them. They got to go. Come and get your mustard greens because they're going to the compost. Okay, so the raspberries seem to be growing pretty slow. I think it's probably because of crowding from the mustard. You can see even there's like all this stuff coming up here. Like this is cilantro, this is a Cosmo. So my compost had a lot of seeds of different things in it. See, there's a beautiful lettuce. So this stuff is like, you know, cool that it's all coming up, but I've got to get rid of it so that these raspberries have a chance. Because they should, I think, be bigger than that by now. I've been trying to pull out the stuff around them, but it just keeps growing like faster than I can keep up with it. Yeah, so that's a project for today, probably to get that cleared out. The blackberry bush that I pulled out of the raised bed and moved back here is not looking happy. I don't know if it'll come back or not. I don't really care because I had given up on this, but just decided I'll try to move it back here and have it grow along the fence. But it doesn't look happy at all. Looks very sad, actually. And then the compost area. I've got, see, even more mustards and stuff coming right up out of the compost. But yeah, I have some turning over and moving things around to do out here, but that's just a job that's not very fun, so it keeps getting put off. Teach them how to compost young. Compost, baby. Okay, so here we are at Alton's apple trees. These were a gift from his papa for his birth. So he will always know that these trees are just as old as him. You can see he's very excited about it. But yeah, these are his apple trees. They look like they're doing really well. I'm not sure what's gonna happen this year. I don't really know anything about growing apples, but this tree did bust out in flowers. And was really beautiful, but I'm a little worried because this tree didn't have any flowers on it, and I think that would be required for pollinating those flowers to turn into apples. Yeah, we might have to figure that out if we don't get any apples this year. And then this is the pear tree. I'll put a picture on the screen of what it looked like when it was in full bloom. It was just beautiful, and now you can see it's getting a lot of new fresh growth on here. So still oh, look it, oh my, look at this. I was gonna say I didn't think I would get any pears because I didn't get a pollinator for it like I was going to, but look, that's a pear. We will be watching that very, very closely. And another. Guys, this is so exciting. Okay, so I'm not sure what this is. Is this a disease? Is this frost damage? Do I need to be worried? Tell me, because I don't know what this is. I hope it doesn't affect my little baby pears. So although I feel like I've gotten an extraordinary amount of work done in the garden for having a newborn, and I'm really proud of myself for that, there are some things that just are getting neglected because I don't have the time like I used to come out and spend all day in the garden and just get everything done. I kind of do it here or there when he's taking a little nap or being happy to just hang out, but sometimes, you know, I'll come out when he's taking a nap and then 5 minutes later he'll wake up, so I'll have to stop gardening. But I had plans for this corner to put in a lilac bush and an azalea and a rose bush. It was originally planned just for the lilac bush, but then I found a $10 azalea and a $4 rose, so I just picked those up as well. Love some clearance plants. But anyways, I've been meaning to dig up the sod here and get those planted, but you can see it's been really neglected. Like, the plants are falling over, and I'm clearly loving them a lot. So this is the $4 rose that came from Walmart. Like I said, their garden employees were slacking on the job, but it's just a double knockout rose. Someday I'm gonna get myself some fancy David Austin roses and have those all around, but for $4, why not? And then this was the $10 azalea. It's looking pretty sad right now. It really does need to get in the ground, like super bad, but there, it's beautiful. And I think it'll complement this really dark purple lilac quite well. I think that'll add some interest and kind of tie this corner into the rest of the garden space. Coming around here, you can see a bench that needs a rehab, and this patio, I just need to sit out here and pull these weeds out. I refuse to use herbicide like Roundup, so I really just need to get that done. I started a little bit in the back corner, but what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to get a headlamp, and then I'm going to be able to come out here at night and do this when the baby's asleep, because finding time to do all these things in the day is just not happening. Here is what's left of my seed starts. Yeah, there's not much left, and what's left is looking pretty hurting, but that's okay because I have planted everything that I needed to plant, and then I also gave both of my sisters all of their plants, and we got those in their gardens. I have another video called Gardening with Family where you can see some of those. And then, yeah, there's some ferns I was gonna plant, but didn't get to it, so they died. They're gonna go to the compost. This was another thing I got from Walmart. It was $5 and had these plants in it. So I think I'm gonna repot them. They don't like this at all, this container, because there's no drainage in it. I'm gonna repot them into a pot and probably take it inside and grow these as houseplants. Anyways, leftover plants, come and get them. Okay, so I had plans to dig out the lilies from this entire bed this year. At the very least, thin them out, but I did get around to digging them out of this area. So I did plant some new plants here. I have a columbine and a heuchera, some random plant that came in that Walmart container, and an astilbe. So that's a little new garden here. The rest of the lilies will just live on like this for this year and be tackled next year. And then this is just like a weed kind of plant thing that came up here, and I leave it because it's so beautiful. I'll cut some of these and bring them in the house. They're just gorgeous. Anyways, going down the aisle, the ferns and hostas that were all scavenged for free and planted here last year are all looking great. I think they make this space look way better than when it was just an empty kind of hallway. Okay, so I fed the baby and he's back down for a little nap. I'm just gonna finish this really quickly because it's windy, and yeah, time to finish this. Here's a little planter here. I've got a diamond frost euphorbia, some pansies that I'll pull out once they start to fade, a Supertunia Bordeaux, and some kind of double impatient, I think, back here. This gets part sun and a lot of shade, so we'll see how these things perform here this year. The ferns and hostas that I scavenged for free last year are filling in and doing really nicely here. I put some lettuce in this container because, like I said, this area is really shady, so we'll see how this lettuce does here. I'm hoping that as the lettuce out in the garden succumbs to the heat, this lettuce will be cool and shaded and continue to grow. Here I have packed up plants that are going with me to to the Thousand Islands because we have some gardens there that we'll be planting with all of these plants. And then I also have all of the zinnias and tomatoes in here kind of hiding from the wind. Here's the driveway garden. Still needs to be dug out completely. Everything in here is going except that peony probably. And I'm gonna put in some things to trial to see how deer proof they are, but haven't gotten anywhere close to that yet. Okay, here is a planter I planted up. It has 2 of my lavender that are grown from seed and 2 of my marigolds grown from seed, a pansy here that I'm really surprised the deer have left alone so far, and a fern in the back, so that's pretty. And then these are some hanging baskets I kind of put together myself. I got one bacopa that I split into 3, the other one's over there, and this is a wave petunia that I put in and is already filling out quite nicely. I'm hoping it'll spill over and fill in these spots in between the bacopa, and I'm really happy with how that looks. I think it's just beautiful. And then this was a hanging basket planter from the dollar store and just a little bit of that bacopa in here. So yeah, gorgeous. Okay, and lastly, the pampas grass is coming back. It's getting kind of tall and floppy, so I'm not sure if that's expected or if I need to kind of give it a little bit of support. Also need to deadhead the daffodils, but the pink pampas grass is definitely coming back, but it doesn't seem very strong, especially compared to this regular pampas grass. But we're giving it this season and we'll see how it does. I also plan on, I mean, this mulch here is like, it's just packed down. I can't even get it up. It's just like a sheet of mulch. See, it's kind of gross. So I do want to take all of it up and then put down some fresh mulch, edge this area. We'll get to it at some point in the summer. Well, thanks so much for joining for today's tour, and we'll see you next month. Things will probably be a lot bigger and there'll be a lot more exciting things to see then. See you next time.